Hello. Hello, hello. Can you hear me now? That's not good. Oh, perfect. I think I dropped it earlier. The cable must have just came out or something. Anyway, butterfly guard, beginner's guide. We're doing the counters today, but I'll quickly recap like we do every week on the moves. We had two types of distance-based butterfly. It was arm drags, which was our first little strategy. Drag the arm, come up. From there we had a little combination. So arm drag to single to one leg X. Arm drag to a double. And we also looked at some collar ties if the person is not engaging. But assuming we've managed to get in close, then we have our underhooking chain. So that's our regular single underhook with a butterfly sweep. We talked about following the person if they've got a good base. So bouncing on your knees, shoulders and toes, and switching sides depending on where they're kind of distributing their weight, like that. Again, I'm just blasting through these, but we will so we can get today's class, but they're up on YouTube so you can watch them. Talked a little bit about the head positioning. That will give you an indicator of what moves to go for. If you got perfect head positioning like this, you're far better off going for the sweep, while if you don't, you're better off kind of attacking clamp guards or guillotines and that kind of stuff. Then we looked at double unders. So we've got double underhooks this time, where we want to try to float the person over, maybe expose their legs, or expose their upper body of some sort, doing arm crushes if they're basing and backing away. And from the arm crush itself, we looked at a few combinations, like an arm crush to a collar tie sweep. Always took a look as well at the Marcelo Garcia kind of throat sweep, where he goes for arm crush, loops his arm under their chin and sweeps them like that. But that was our basic kind of beginner's guide into the butterfly guard there. It gave you kind of three strategies. One for when the person's far away from you, distance butterfly. One when you get single underhooks, and one when you get double underhooks. So it gave us a little kind of thinking window depending on what we kind of have there. And today we're just going to look at the counters. Basically, it's going to help you as well figure out what's the dangerous while you're playing butterfly yourself. But we're also going to look at a few different strategies into passing the butterfly guard. The first one is just forcing the half guard. If you can get the person in their back basically to the mat, you kind of get a better kind of style of passing, because once their back is on the floor, they don't have much power on their hips to use their hooks effectively. And like we said earlier, for that butterfly sweeps to work, we want to be on our side and use the momentum of the person putting weight on us to sweep them. When we're flat, kind of kills our hip power and it makes it extremely difficult to sweep. So forcing the half guard is as simple as it sounds. If you're able to get one of your knees in between like this, so I shoot one knee in between and I can force her into this position. That's one kind of a relatively safe kind of way to pass the butterfly guard. Obviously it's not as easy as it sounds, because they'll be moving and constantly doing stuff, but if you have the opportunity to do this, that's one way to kind of beat the butterfly guard or not deal with it. The other one is also standing, but I haven't added that here. biggest thing about avoiding getting into the half guard is avoiding the knee shot or the half butterfly, which can be difficult to do. Here's what I mean. You could force the half guard, but the person could get their knee shot in place or a butterfly hook, and then you're kind of in that position. So you need the chain if this happens. That knee shot is in place. But if you watch a half guard kind of pressure passing, you should be able to find a few moves to beat that knee shot in any case, right? But just keep in mind, forcing the half guard is one way to deal with the butterfly. Next up is our over-unders. So here, this kind of takes a bit of kind of commitment, because you're literally gonna throw yourself into an over-unders. So I'm just gonna dive in and hope that I can control everything in time. If you don't, we obviously we get caught in like triangles, maybe guillotines, lots of bad stuff there. But if we can get into our perfect over-unders position, we've got quite a safe style of passing once we get to here. Tripod up, try to swallow the knee, and continue your pass from there. Again, the person being active on the bottom is going to prevent you from doing that, but if you find a window of getting inside there, it is a very good pass. And we talked about the dangers about camera froze. No worries. I'm not sure how to fix the camera, but as long as we have the main screen, yeah, I have no idea, because it happens sometimes, right? Today is all faulty. It happens all the time, but I usually have to plug it in and out, and I can never remember what cable it is. So I'm not gonna do that, otherwise it's gonna screw everything up. So it doesn't distract you guys, I'll put hello. Can you hear me now? Alright, I have to take the camera. I can't fix the camera, so I have to just use this. Like I was saying earlier, but there was no volume. I bought this camera during the first phase of the lockdown where you couldn't find any cameras anywhere, so I had to get a dodgy one. And this one, if you just kind of tap it or anything, it just freezes for no reason. So I'm just gonna do it like this. You won't get to see my pretty face anymore, but you'll be good. Anyway, so over-unders, do be careful diving in, obviously, but it can be a great pass, can be dangerous, but as long as you keep it nice and tight in the position, focus on the hips, you should be okay. There's two types of over-unders. The first one we did is the one where we force them into the half guard. But there's another version that you can do, especially from butterfly, because you aren't really in kind of half guard scenario, right? So if you go to over unders, you actually end up in this bit where there's kind of one butterfly hook here, which is like 3/4 guard, and you can't see here, but if you can hold on to their shin with like a grip and put pressure down this way, you actually don't have to go into the half guard, so you can just start passing from there, as opposed to the other over unders where we get to over unders, right, but the person catches us in that half guard scenario like this. So you have to do that whole sequence. Sometimes you'll be able to just bypass it if you just trap their leg like this and there's no half guard in place. So that's our over unders, kind of call it butterfly trap, but they're both over unders. The next style of passing is our body lock sequence, which is very good. Probably one of the most used passes now. But this basically is, if I can somehow get a tight body control like this on her hips and pull my partner in, again, it does that thing where if her back is flat on the mat, I feel quite strong on top. The butterfly becomes a lot weaker and we can start our sequence of passing. And here we can just clear one butterfly hook, then try to beat the second one like this. Lots of different styles of passing from the body lock, but all you've got to remember is pull the person in and trap them in place like this, and then you can work slowly into your pass. Head positioning is very important, because obviously if any of these hooks come out, they got omoplatas, guillotines, all sorts of bad scenarios that can happen. But this basically gave you a little kind of pressure passing scenario here from the butterfly. All of these ones forcing the half guard, where I try to pressure in and force here. Over unders, where I dive in, get proper hip control and start parsing, and body lock. All work great, and they're all kind of pressure style passing from the butterfly, and probably one of the most effective ways to pass anyway. One of my favorite partners uses the body lock. What is the counter to that? Oh, there's a few counters. The easiest one I'd say is they have to get a very good head positioning to be able to use this pass, right? So it usually works like this. They want their head somewhere in the center or slightly to the opposite side of where they're passing. So if you can stiff arm their head away in that direction, usually they'll get very, very uncomfortable. You might be able to take this leg out and omoplata them. You might be able to guillotine them. There's lots of different scenarios. But that's one strategy you can do. Another one is if you can underhook one of their arms and start attacking that arm. That's another one, if they give you enough space. You can make a couple of X's on one leg, or almost hip heist, which is if you can get up to one hand and kind of shrimp away. That's another one. But usually the head is the easiest window to deal with. Push the head really far away, both arms nice and strong. Yeah, careful with the pushes, because they can do some flashy moves like jumping over you and that kind of stuff, but that's a good little move. Moving on. Okay, moving on, we're gonna start a little bit of different style passing now, not so much pressure. I call them kind of quick style passing. These are the ones that you do maybe you're kind of annoying the person by backing away too much or just preventing them from getting in close, and all of a sudden you change the pace of the fight by going for your move. Okay, first one's a headlock to the back. Basically works like this. If you somehow manage to snap the head down, or if the head is a bit lower than yours and you can get a headlock like this, because they're in the butterfly stance, it's really hard for them to stop you from running around like this to the back. So it's a great little kind of move to do, and the person top kind of rarely expects it, but if you can get this kind of head control, feel free to run around like this and expose their back. Again, it will be hard to get that head control, so you need a kind of a strategy before to go for this move, and one of the ones I like anyway is just to kind of annoy the person by keep kind of like walking backwards to make them engage forward, and if you see their head coming in lower than yours, you got a good chance of doing it. The next ones, they're kind of bait style passing. These are the ones where you're actually gonna give the person something to kind of allow them to get comfortable and then go for your pass. We know the person at the bottom is very likely to go for an underhook from the butterfly. So in this one, Chris gets an underhook here, and because I'm ready for the underhook, I'm gonna use this arm to quickly push her knee to the side as she comes in. So here she comes in, I push the knee, and I get some sort of underhook or head control of some sort, or charge in. So again, she goes to the underhook, I push, and I get around her. If she's keeping a strict form on her leg with her elbow inside and kind of no gap in between here, it will be difficult to do this move, but nonetheless, if you're quite aggressive with it and ready for it, should be able to at least cause a scramble of some sort here. Might not get the pass, but you might be able to scare them a little bit and make them do a mistake. So I call that a quick style pass. Just basically push the knees, jump to the side. Now we're getting a little bit later and later into the matches. Your next other kind of baiting style pass, I call it hand to the mat, which again is when they underhook you. On the previous one, we try to push the knee right to the side. Now in this case, my partner here has her legs slightly more open, so you can see if I were to push this, there wouldn't be any reason to push because she's already got her hips flared. I won't be able to crush her legs together to that side. So in this case, there might be a gap in between that you can put your hand through and engage your pass to the other side now. So here, put my hand to the mat, there, and now I'm going to try to skip past towards that direction. And because I have that hand to the mat, it makes a butterfly hook slightly weaker. And if she was to try to butterfly me sweep now, she would kind of help me clear the hook. These two are wonderful passes if you get the really good timing in them. Again, you have to be one step ahead of the person, because if they get in too tight to you, it's pretty much going to be way more difficult to kind of control them. Now we're getting a little bit more later and later into the match. These are kind of moves where you already basically got in trouble. So I wouldn't advise you to go for these, but it just kind of happens. One of them is you get butterfly swept. Maybe you were trying to do these previous two moves, but the person got in a bit too tight underneath you and they're ready for the sweep. Now I really like this one, but basically you know you're being swept, and instead of just accepting the sweep, right, we're gonna roll underneath the person. What happens is, so here Chris is butterflying, sweep me. I know she's gonna get the sweep, so instead of kind of fighting the sweep, I'm gonna go with it and do a full roll underneath her, like this. And you will cause a scramble that somehow might end up with you on top, like this, and backdooring her. So the whole move there, if you watched our deep half lesson, it's basically a deep half backdoor. She's gonna sweep me, I'm gonna hug her legs and roll underneath to try to get up behind her. So it negates the sweep, and you might end up on a single leg, maybe the back, if you can. Now you could take this a step further and actually insert this butterfly hook behind her calf. And if you got the flexibility to do that, you actually end up further into the back instead. But again, there's a very little window of time to do this. It has to be as you're getting swept, and you've got to spin faster than the person can get up. So if you're getting butterfly swept all the time, this is the move to go for. Again, I really like this move. Be careful, because there's a lot of bad things can happen, obviously. If you miss that leg there, you could end up in triangles if you're not controlling this leg. If you leave your arm out, they might armbar you if they step over. So it's not going to be a go-to move, obviously. So we've had strategies for pressure style passing. We've had our little traps that we made if the person goes for an underhook on us. And if it's really bad and we have been swept, try to spin underneath the person to avoid the sweep. Now we're getting again further down the line. The person has got double underhooks on us, and we kind of know the moves already they're going for, because we did our butterfly chain. If they got double underhooks, most of the time you're going to be watching out for the float, which is them trying to make you stand up, and the arm crushes, and some neck attacks and that kind of stuff. But the first one is they kind of float you over. One of the moves you can do if you're quite dexterous and quick is to windshield one of your legs on the inside. So you see, as I go up, I'm gonna do that and come up. There I kind of did it in a very bad way, but it was just to show the leg work a bit slowly, because you can't do this slowly during the rows. Basically you're gonna walk forward with them as they're trying to butterfly sweep you, and put pressure on their butterfly hooks by walking forward. And then once you're far enough into the butterfly that you can suspend yourself on their hooks, you'll be able to windshield your foot like this. And you can go to a knee slice, you can go to lots of different moves, but that's one way to clear those butterfly hooks there. Now you need to practice a lot of body positioning for this. I did it really badly here, but because Chris couldn't take my weight. But basically you want to pressure their hooks when you're doing this. The best way is kind of to walk to the side a little bit and kind of thrust your knee towards that direction to bring their heels towards her butt, if that makes sense. Next up, not so good, because you are giving the person a leg lock, is leg weaves. So as you come in, you can shoot your knee through, but you've got to learn how to deal with the leg locks. If you are going to do this, you got to know where to position your knee properly against the hip joint, maybe hook their leg so you don't get caught in any kind of leg lock from there. So only do this one if you've been practicing, if you know a little bit more about leg weaves. If you don't, you're giving the person a leg lock. But it is one option. And this is the one we probably use more in the gi. It's the number one counter people teach you usually. But other than that, you are kind of stuck in the double under scenarios a bit. Okay, only other counter you're gonna kind of have to deal with is leg lock attacks, like I said, and what we're gonna look at now in a bit, arm crush counters, which are these. So just like us, if we back away, the person can start attacking our upper body. So we need to learn how to deal with these arm crushes. One way people kind of deal with it is by quickly ripping your arm out. We see this a lot, even at higher levels. If you feel strong enough, or if the person ain't tight enough, you can rip your arm out. A lot of people do it, but against someone good, you might actually do more harm than good by ripping out. So this is the proper way of actually ripping out correctly, without damaging your arm, basically. So my first move is to realizing that I'm in an arm crush scenario, is to actually kind of put pressure on my person by hugging them. So you can hug them several different ways, but if you're in real danger, the quickest thing you can do is just hug her like this. Okay, it's not normally what you want to do, but it'll keep the arm the safest. The reason you don't want to do this, obviously, because she can sweep us to this side most of the time. So another way to do it is to actually just put your arm completely flat next to her head and walk kind of forward so that you're aligned with her, so you have a complete straight arm. But if that doesn't happen, you're gonna have to hug. That's me walking to get into a straight line. And now I can change my arm positioning to be able to safely pull my arm free without damaging it. So again, here, hug. You don't have to hug as deep as I did. You can just put your hand flat on the mat, walk over her, and then I'm ripping out my arm by changing the angle. So my arm was in this angle where my elbow joint is here, and she's applying pressure, and all I want to do is kind of hug to protect my elbow, which is here. And then when I'm ripping out, I'm just basically bringing my forearm in this direction and bringing my arm in this direction, so my elbow is in this position, if that makes sense. So the back of your elbow won't be facing where her power is. It'll be the other way around. Cool? Hopefully that made sense. Now we get into the back of the start of the lesson, where basically I did this way because we did worst case scenarios first, which is really tight. But this time the person is kind of playing more of a distance based butterfly. So in this case they're looking for the arm drags and that kind of stuff. So we also need to learn how to deal with that. The first one is an arm drag counter. Now you could just have a good base, step up in your leg, maybe avoid them, but a cool one is to re-drag them. So as they drag, you can drag them back and maybe take their back if you're quicker than them. It's a fun little move, and people kind of don't expect it, but if you're ready for it, this is a good one. More often, if you're a bit slower and you're kind of scared of that 2-on-1 grip, one way you could stop things is by using your head and posting on their shoulder. And if you do a good job here, you might end up with a nice body lock pass afterwards. So I like this kind of strategy a bit better. Obviously I'll be ready for it, because if not, you will get nastily dragged, but it's one way to kind of deal with it. From our chain, we also saw that if the person steps up on one leg, I might end up in one leg X, and your normal one leg X counter from here is to stand up straight away, to have a good base, clear the foot and back step. I showed this because from our double on this chain, the person could also float you up and get you into this one leg X, so you need to know how to deal with it as soon as they get in there, but that's the basic kind of move that you want to do. And then we have kind of a odd kind of chain here, which is kind of your aggressive kind of style of passing from your knees. The no-gi long step is one of them, where we shoot our arm through and do a back step. Again, you can do this anytime. You have to be quite ready for it and quite quick, but it's quite a good pass. Only you can see the difference between the no-gi long step is we take a kind of an over-unders grip here. We can do it with a neck control, but you can also do it with an over the shoulder grip, which is this, which works quite well. Again, quite very good pass if you time it well. And then kind of the newest style of passing, which is the float sequences, which kind of negates the butterfly already, but it is one strategy you can use, which basically is our standing style passes, which we're gonna kind of negate the butterfly by stepping one leg in. And it really isn't butterfly passing anymore, but it's one way to kind of force the person to play another game. And then we can start our float sequence. We should probably do a lesson on this at some point. But the basic chain is you get into the float pass sequence. You've got to obviously learn how to position your body effectively and where to distribute your weight. But once you get the hang of that, then you can start doing your chain, which is 1 underhook and knee slice. Everything starts from the same sequence. 2 windshield pass, which is this. And 3, these are the basic ones. I call it the snow plow, which is a knee slice over their kind of hamstring like that. There are times to go for each one of these. I can quickly go through them. There's 2 types of leg positioning the person on the bottom can do, which is far hip and near hip. This knee can be anywhere between those 2. If you're in a case where her hips is open, you can go for a knee slice a bit easier, like this. Or if you can get an underhook, that's a good indicator to go for a knee slice. If she's doing a good job, I'm floating, and she's doing a very good job keeping this active, I might be able to do this windshield pass by extending like this. And if we're in a case where I feel her knee is a little bit off to the other side, I might be able to do this snow plow. So you got to learn all of the positionings and that kind of stuff to be effective at this passing. But more importantly is the body positioning to keep them from taking the legs out or getting you to leg lock scenarios. And then the last little strategy, it's rolling attacks from the butterfly, which basically 2. Rolling Kimura, one of them. Again, I'm going to start it off from the floating sequence, but you could do rolling guillotine, sorry. But you could start it from here as well. But basically, I get access to her neck somehow, and I do a roll from front headlock, and then obviously there's a bunch of chains from here. Another lesson on its own. Or Kimura, exactly the same, and row. Again, any of these style of passings can be effective at a certain degree. Find one that works for you, but this gives you a basic insight of what the dangers are when you are playing butterfly, and what kind of strategies you can take for passing the butterfly guard. We had forcing the half guard, which you basically don't have to deal with the butterfly. You might have to deal with half butterfly, but that's one of them. Over under style and body lock passing for those pressure passing, if you like that. Setting up traps. If nothing's working, you can let them have those underhooks if you're feeling confident with your traps. We had our little kind of spin unders if we do get swept. And then later on, if we get into dangerous spots like double unders, we need answers to that. Windshield pass is one of them. We have to learn our arm crush counters and the drags, which are also very important. But basically you can see passing gives you a lot more windows than the sweeps and your moves from the bottom. So you gotta learn quite a bit on top, and basically it's just gonna make your bottom game way stronger, and the same goes the other way. Your passing game is gonna get way stronger as well. Okay, any questions, fire them away now. But that's basically the class for today. Hopefully you have some insight on what to do when you're passing. Again, all of these moves are going to be difficult to do in live rolling, but the more you practice, the more you get confident with it. Passing on your knees is something very new to me, that I've been working on for the past few years, because I've mostly only passed from standing, but it's really effective when you're dealing with those butterfly players. You'd think standing is a bit easier, but like I said, everything has its pros and cons. Standing allows them to get to your legs more. Kneeling allows them to sweep you or get into those upper body attacks more. Cool. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Friday, I'm not sure we're gonna do Friday yet. I might do a bit more on butterfly. I might start a new class. I'm not sure yet, but we'll see on Friday. Surprise you guys. Anyway, you can see my frozen face there as a goodbye. Have a lovely weekend, guys. On Friday, I haven't got any new rolls today, so there's no rolling breakdown for today. But take it easy. Enjoy the rest of the week, and I'll see you guys on Friday.